How long do we cling to the past? Should the homes of famous Indians be protected as national memorials? In Mumbai today, the answer was a firm no. The home of the father of the Indian nuclear program, Homi Bhabha, was auctioned off today for 372 crores. Funds for it will transform the National Centre for Performing Arts, which had become the owner of this property.
They came, silently protested, and simply left. But the scientific community could not stop the inevitable. The Bhabha bungalow Mehrangir, where Dr. Homi Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program, and his brother Jamshed lived in Malabar Hill in South Mumbai, finally went under the hammer. Auctioned by the owners, the National Centre of Performing Arts, or the NCPA, and picked up for 372 crore rupees.
Dr. Homi Bhabha was himself a great lover of culture. Both the brothers would have been very disappointed at the action being taken.
Bharat Ratna and Professor CNR Rao too wrote to Prime Minister Narendra Modi to halt the auction. But NCPA says the eminent scientist barely lived here.
I think we owe a lot to Homi Bhabha. We should somehow get it out of the National Centre for Performing Arts. If they are kind enough, we can even give them a notional money for it. And so it should be given left alone as a national treasure.
I've made a memorial for him in the place where he worked, where he spent most of his time. Why his house, which belonged to Dr. Bhabha, Jamshed Bhabha?
Sold for 372 crore rupees. The NCPA says they are happy that as per Dr. Jamshed Bhabha's will, his desire to sell this property has now been realized. But that said, the scientific community and many others would also hope and pray that their sentiments are also respected and the unknown winner of this auction would not bring down this iconic and famous structure. In Mumbai, Tejas Mehta for NDTV.
Well, what about legacy? Is this something that we are forgetting? Homi Bhabha and his incredible contribution to science in this country, the entire nuclearization, the nuclear field in India, developing nuclear technology, or do we in fact cling to the past unnecessarily on certain occasions? Joining us to debate this, Sri Kumar Banerjee, professor at the Homi Bhabha Atomic Research Centre, and Anil Tharkar, the well-known columnist. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Mr. Banerjee, do you feel particularly let down today? Because a lot of people would say that a part of India's legacy is not being honoured, that Homi Bhabha's residence should in fact have been made a national memorial.
I do agree there that Homi Bhabha is just not a great scientist, but he is an institution himself. And it is through his planning, and many of this planning of the Indian Atomic Energy Program, which stands today very tall in the international scenario also, was made in that particular house. So it is not just a site, just a residence of Dr. Homi Bhabha, but that's the place of place where the chalking out of the Indian Atomic Energy Program was made initially. It's not just the Indian Atomic Energy Program. If you look at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, the basic research activities in the country, Homi Bhabha was also has made a tremendous contribution on that. And all of us, both in the basic science community and also those who have been working in the atomic energy field, definitely feel depressed on this occasion that his residence has been sold out on auction. But still there is a way that if that can be. Homi Bhabha was not just a scientist. His multifaceted personality included science, included arts, architecture and music. So I would say that he represents a kind of a intellectual activity, of creative activity of human being, and if by some means that spirit is maintained and that place is retained as a place for
but Mr. Banerjee, the funds which have been raised as a result of this auction are actually going to promote what Homi Bhabha also, as you rightly mentioned, was so close to, the arts. And therefore, is this something which he would perhaps have wished himself?
It's a question of that what exactly will be the use of that particular building, and if it is utilized in a manner befitting to his own activities, his own memory, then perhaps it will give that. So it has to have something which has content of science, it has content of arts, it has content of the other forms of say like music, because Homi Bhabha had interest in all these areas. So that is why it's extremely important for us. But as somebody who has worked in atomic energy for, I feel that it is very important for us to maintain that particular building as a memory for Bhabha. We do have various other ways of memorizing him in our own activities, in our own research centers. But this is a place which deserves a very special attention.
Anil Dharkar, do you agree?
Well, you know, I feel this whole movement created by atomic scientists, by BARC people, is completely artificial. Because let's face it, Homi Bhabha died 48 years ago. Okay, Jamshed Bhabha has been living in this house. This house actually belonged to Jamshed Bhabha. So when you talk of Homi Bhabha's house, it is a complete misstatement. It is Jamshed Bhabha's house. I've been to this house when Jamshed Bhabha was alive. That house was not just legally his, but everything in the house was his. You know, when you live in a house for 40, 50 years, that house is going to belong to you. So it is, if it had to be a memorial to anyone, it would be a memorial to Jamshed Bhabha. Now, Jamshed Bhabha himself willed it to the NCPA. And why did he will it to the NCPA? So that the proceeds of the sale and all the contents would go to further the activity of NCPA. It would, the day-to-day running, the expansion of NCPA. And that is a living memorial. And I think we have to look at these things. Do we want a memorial which is first of all artificial? And a dead memorial, trying to recreate something which didn't exist? Or are we going to say that art and culture will be enhanced, will be expanded by this bequest? And we also forgetting, you know, everyone's talking of Homi Bhabha's contribution. Why do you forget Jamshed Bhabha's contribution? Are you saying that science is more important than culture? Are you saying that we should only commemorate science and we should forget about culture? I think this is a very false kind of comparison. And I find it really sad that these two eminent brothers, who were very close together, are now being divided in death by outside elements.
Okay. Mr. Banerjee, respond.
You know,
Mr. Dharkar, just a moment. You made a lot of points. I want to get Mr. Banerjee to respond to that. The first point that Anil Dharkar raises is actually of who was the last resident of the house. It was Jamshed Bhabha who was the resident of this house. He's lived over there for several decades. And therefore there was no real memory, or there was no real association with Homi Bhabha that still existed. Therefore, what is it that we are trying to remember?
As J.J. Bhabha was living there, as long he was living there, there was no question of any, I mean, from the atomic energy community or the scientific community to have any discussion on that property or on making a memorial, because there is already a very distinguished artist living there, and who also happens to be the brother of Bhabha. So that issue did not come at all. So we cannot say that for 4 decades back Bhabha died and so nothing has been done. It's not so. After J.J. Bhabha's death, the issue really came up. And so this is where I think the point is. And we are never saying it is something, something between science versus the fine arts or science. It's not that. The Bhabha actually epitomized this confluence of science, arts, literature, all this together, music. And that is what is the spirit of Bhabha. And that's what we also try to memorize, not only in that building, but everywhere else. In our whole planning, we do that. So when we see that his residence, which could be maintained as a place where we memorize or keep a memorial for Bhabha, not a dead memorial, but something very live, and that is what it should be the purpose. But if it is just sold off as a real estate, that is where we are objecting. We are not objecting anything else. What we are saying that it is not just a real estate value, it has something much more than that, and that component is perhaps being missed out.
Mr. Tharkar, why don't you reply to that? Mr. Banerjee making the point that no, despite the fact that Jamshed Bhabha had lived there for all those decades, the memory of Homi Bhabha is still linked to that particular property, and it could be made alive by creating a memorial, perhaps a memorial that remembered Jamshed Bhabha in as much as it remembered Homi Bhabha.
Well, you know, there are several ways of commemorating a memory of somebody. I think Homi Bhabha's memory has been commemorated over these years in a very fitting way through actual living memorials. What is the TIFR, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research? In it you see the hand of Homi Bhabha, you see his own paintings, you see his painting collections. That building was designed by Homi Bhabha. So again, that is his contribution. BARC is what? Bhabha Atomic Research Center. That is named after Homi Bhabha. All over the country, atomic energy establishments bear the name of Homi Bhabha, as they fittingly should. Now why, and I keep coming back to this point, why are we forgetting the contribution of Jamshed Bhabha? You know, Jamshed Bhabha's life work was the NCPA. Life work was NCPA. NCPA contributes to the culture of this country in a very significant way. For NCPA to expand its activities, it needs the proceeds of the sale. Therefore, when you sell this house, and even if you consider it real estate, the money accruing from that expands culture, and it's for the benefit of everyone in Bombay and outside. Now, I think that's so wonderful, you know, and I don't know why we are creating this controversy at all.
All right. Well, it's certainly a tough debate, one way or the other, that it's been done, it's been sold, it's been auctioned off for 372 odd crore rupees, and that those proceeds will go towards the fine arts, towards culture. But one way or the other, there is a community, and Mr. Banerjee represents that, who feel very aggrieved by this, and the entire issue of whether our legacy is being protected enough. Well, that remains a larger issue we can debate another day. I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us.